Welcome to Homeschool Idaho's Getting Started series. We are on session number 4, where we were going to be talking about teaching and learning styles. If you've missed the first 3 sessions, you can head over to Homeschool Idaho's YouTube channel and check those out. And I am back today with my friend Audra Talley, who is a Homeschool Idaho board member, a homeschool mom, and a friend of mine. And we're just going to dive right in because there's a lot of information that we want to get out to you guys today. It's really important and really relevant, but we don't want to bog you down, but this is important stuff. So, Audra, we're just going to dive right into teaching and learning styles, why they matter, and what they are.
Okay, so let's start off with why they matter.
Okay.
The big thing with knowing learning styles and teaching styles is it's going to help you teach your child better. Okay, and it's going to save you a lot of struggle when you go to pick your homeschool curriculum, because it's going to help you mesh the curriculum you choose with their learning style. And it's also going to help you as you engage with your kids on a daily basis. It's going to help you know how to troubleshoot their struggle areas. It's basically learning to speak their language is what this is going to help you understand, what their language is and what language they're speaking when they're hearing you. So it's a lot of information and it's going to be a little bit overwhelming up front, but I think you'll start to pick out in your own mind what you see in your kids,
Right.
How their brains work.
Right. So how many are there?
There's 4.
Okay.
4 primary learning styles. And just to be careful, let's not box our kids in. They're not going to be 100% in one learning style versus another.
Good.
But
to
they
know.
will have a learning style that's dominant. There will be one that they clearly shine in.
Okay.
And some of knowing this is being able to see the weaknesses and strengths of each style.
Good.
So let me start off with showing you my source of information here. And it is The Way They Learn by Cynthia Tobias. And she pulled a lot of research from what's called the Gregoric model of learning. And she put it in layman's terms in this book. So I would recommend this to any parent if you really want to go in depth. I took notes in the book. It was that good.
Wonderful.
So that's where we're basically pulling our information from.
Okay.
So let's just dive in.
Awesome. Sounds good. Ready? Number 1.
Number 1, our first learning style is what's called concrete sequential. It's exactly what it sounds like. These are people who deal in concrete, confirmed, hard reality, and they like it sequenced in a certain way.
Okay.
So these kids are hardworking, they're diligent, they're accurate, they're stable, they're very dependable, they love facts, they love details, and they tend to be very organized individuals. And you probably know a kid like that, you probably know an adult like that. They love applying ideas in the real world. So they can take something they've read and they're going to try to apply it in the real world.
Okay.
They are going to love organizing information. These are list kids. They will take ideas and fine tune them so that they're just right. These are the kids that'll frustrate you because they're trying to get every detail lined out perfectly. And they also work well within time limits. They just don't like things to be open-ended. So that's the other thing that is a benefit, is that if you give them a time structure to work within, they are going to do really well working in that time structure.
Okay.
So things that work well for them, that makes sense to them, is working systematically. They're kind of do A, then do B, then do C. They're going to do really well in those situations. Okay. They are very detail oriented. They love schedules. They also need to know expectations. These kids need it laid out super clear. I expect A, B, C, and D, and in that order. And those are the kids that are going to rise to that challenge.
Okay.
They're going to thrive with routines. They need everything to be as consistent as possible from one day to the next.
Okay.
But at the same time, these kids kind of struggle with some other things. They don't do well in groups because that's kind of chaotic.
Yes, unpredictable. They like things predictable.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. They struggle with just general discussions. They are deep divers. They want to know the details. So if you're just talking in generalities, they struggle to stay engaged. They struggle with a disorganized environment. So if you're asking them to learn in the middle of a kitchen table full of breakfast dishes, they're going to struggle with it, which,
Right.
honestly, sometimes that happens.
Right.
They struggle with unclear directions. They
Mm.
don't work well with abstract ideas. They are the kids that if you ask them to do a creative writing assignment, they're going to go, what?
Right.
Because their imagination doesn't function outside of their reality. Not that they
Right.
aren't imaginative, but it works within a concrete, the world around them.
Right. They don't like those open-ended, questions. They like the
Right.
yes or no answers. They need a very
Yes.
clear demarcation of yes, no, right, wrong,
Yep,
not those
exactly.
open-ended, as adults, they're not the adults that like small talk by any
Right.
means.
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
understanding this
Okay.
person.
All right. So that's our first of our four.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. Our next one are called abstract sequentials. So they're
Okay.
the kind that can think outside of what they see in front of them, but they are still very sequence oriented. So they
Okay.
have an order to their lives. So the names make sense if you
Yeah, for
kind of just
sure.
process them. So these are your analytical kids. They're very objective. They're good at seeing things from multiple perspectives. They're knowledgeable. They're just very intuitively engaged in the world around them, and they just have a lot of innate understanding. They're thorough, structured, logical, deliberate, systematic. There's that sequential part, very systematic. Um, because they're capable of being a little bit abstract, they're really good with dealing with underlying principles
Mm,
of why things are the way that they are. They grasp that abstract component of learning of everyday life really well. They tend to like to gather lots of data before they make decisions about things. They tend to like to analyze ideas. So they're the kind that will pick apart your schedule. They're the kind
right.
that will pick apart
Right.
what the teacher is trying to teach them.
Is
Um,
there a better way? Is there a different way?
right,
Right?
exactly, exactly. They're going to be the kind that goes, well, can I do it this way
Right.
instead?
Right.
Well, and
And
if
their
you
way will
take it
still make sense, and it will still be sequential, and it will still have order. It's just they wanna know that, if there's more than one way, I wanna discover it.
exactly, they, which makes complete sense with that whole abstract sequential sequence is important. They like to use facts to prove or disprove theories. So they like to take abstract ideas, apply reality, and then make a decision. Um, so they love using exact, well researched information. They learn by watching more than doing because that
Mm,
allows that analytical side to kick in.
okay.
They use logical reasoning. And honestly, they do better with a teacher who's able to address those abstract ideas more than somebody who says, well, it's just the way it is.
Right.
So this is the child that's going to make you think you don't know anything. Or if you don't have an explanation that truly meets their need for clear answers,
Right.
you might struggle with that one.
Right.
Um, they are okay living in a world of abstract ideas as long as they can draw conclusions and anchor those in reality. And they're the kind that won't let a subject go until they feel like they've thought every thought that's possible on that particular topic. So be patient with those because
Yes.
you're gonna like, can we get over this already? Can we get past
Right.
this? We're done learning about this. But they're the kind that needs to keep digging. Um, so they're gonna have a hard time when there's not time to actually do all that thinking. If you constrain them to too small of a time frame, they're going to struggle with that. They are going to struggle with repeating the same tasks over and over again. So that's the kid that when you give them 50 math problems, if they've gotten it by problem 5 or 10, let them go because they're like, I already know this. Why am I doing
Right.
this over and over again?
Right.
They struggle with lots of specific rules and regulations. They need to they need parameters, but that abstract part needs the ability to think through all those rules and regulations. And then if they can't, it freaks them out. Their
Right. That
brains
makes sense.
disengage. They don't do well with sentimental thinking. They aren't good at expressing their emotions. They can be very undiplomatic towards other people's points of view. And they also, once they hook onto something that they really love, they will monopolize the entire conversation. you got to be patient with. As far as they're going to want to go from start to finish all the way to the bottom to the last minutia
Right.
and talk your ear off to get there.
External processors
So
off.
that's our abstract sequential kids.
Okay.
So our next group are our abstract randoms. They are the kids that just make you go, how did you get to that conclusion? Where did we go from there? So those are the kids that are super sensitive. They're very compassionate. They're perceptive. They're imaginative. They're idealistic. They're sentimental, spontaneous, flexible. They're okay with the fly by the seat of the, and they do well with hey, let's pick up and we're going to do school outside today. They're great with that. They just will roll with that and go with you. So those are also a lot of fun to do, kids to be around. Right. So what they do best is they can engage in the world around them and apply it to themselves personally. They listen sincerely to other people. They understand other people's emotions and feelings. They're the kind that will see somebody who looks a little down and they'll go give them a hug. Aww. And interact with them that way. They will focus on themes and ideas. So they're really good at this overarching theme and idea concept, and they can really run with it and deal with those abstract ideas. Right. They are peacemakers. They have good rapport with everyone. This is the kid that you have to keep an eye on in the grocery store because they're making friends with every stranger down the road. Very relational kids. They see the emotional needs of others. So they're very engaged with that. They're learning, when it comes to their actual learning, they need something personalized. They need something that has relevance to them. They are the kind that needs you to be engaged with them. They're not the kind that you can give a list and go, okay, go do this. They're the kind that need you to sit alongside of them and learn with them and be there with them, because they need that emotional connection to what's going on around them. Right. They need friendly relationships. So if there's a lot of tension in the house or sibling rivalry going on, they're going to struggle to learn within the context of those relationships. So you got to kind of watch that one, because they're kind of a good barometer for the family's emotional state at that time. Interesting. Let's see. They also they decide with the heart. They just kind of will jump off into the deep end of something without really thinking, because it connected with them emotionally and not with their heads. So here's some things they're going to struggle with when you're schooling them. They're going to have a hard time explaining their emotions. They may connect with something emotionally, they may engage with it, but you're not going to be able to get them to explain it. They just can't put their thoughts into a concrete way of evaluating the world. Okay. They don't do well with competition. They get too emotionally invested, and they just can't deal with that. That's the kid that has a meltdown when they lose a race. Okay. Right? They don't do well when the people they're working with were unfriendly or unkind to them. They're not really good with exact details, because again, they're thinking with this part, they're thinking with their hearts and not always their heads. And they even struggle to accept positive criticism, because it all comes across as a negative input. Right. So, and then they struggle with focusing on any one thing at a time. So this is the kid that kind of does the whole swirl type. Right. Thing. Right. They are totally sidetracked and very easily sidetracked. Right. And that brings us to our fourth learning type, which is a concrete random. And so as our abstract random can think outside the box, but nothing is in sequence, our concrete random, there's nothing in sequence, but they still deal with concrete reality. They are quick to pick things up. They're very intuitive. They have a firm grasp of reality. They're creative, they're innovative, they're instinctive, and they're adventurous. This is the kid that you're going to find at the top of a tree somewhere. And all the logical reasons why they shouldn't be there aren't going to necessarily connect with them. The tree was meant to be climbed. Okay? Right. That's that personality. what they do best is they are deep into compelling reasons. They love to engage and inspire other people to take action. They see many different options and solutions. This is the kid that's going to go, but what if we do it this way? Can we do it this way? And their ideas will be almost off the wall, like crazy ideas, but they'll work. So these are the kids that are going to just be constantly, well, but mom, what about
Wow.
this? Can we do it this way? Can we do it this way? They're really good at kind of looking farther out past themselves, looking into the future, seeing what they're learning now applies in the future. They find different ways to do things, just like they have different ideas. The way they actually get things done is different than maybe your concrete sequential. They accept many types of people. They're very non-judgmental kids. Life is good. Life is happy. The life is full of interesting people. And they think fast on their feet and they take risks. These are the kids that are just intuitive. They do. They are just constantly moving. When you're working with these kids and you're teaching these kids, what you're going to find that makes what they're going to do is they're going to use just instinct, that gut reaction to the information to help solve problems. They're going to be really good at working in general time frames rather than specific time frames. So these are the kids that if you give them 2 hours to do something, they're going to freeze up because that's not enough time. But if you say, hey, by the end of the week, you give them a broad range of time to work within. They do really well with developing and testing different solutions. So these are the kids that you give them a science experiment and they're going to figure out all these different ways of doing this stuff. They love real life experience. They learn from real life experience. These are the experiential kids. These are the kids that have to do. They won't take your word for it, no matter how much experience you have, no matter how much you've done. They are not going to take your word for it. They're going to do it themselves. So where are they going to struggle? They're going to struggle with limitations and restrictions. They're going to struggle with formal reports, again, because everything is just very fluid, intuitive, and heartfelt.
Mm-hmm.
So those specific formal reports are going to be hard for them. They are going to struggle with routine. These are the kids that are going to wake up one morning and want to do everything upside down and backwards. And then the next day, they're going to be just fine with doing the routine. And then the next day, it's going to be something totally different.
Unpredictable.
They struggle with if they've completed something and you ask them to go back and redo it, they're going to struggle with that. They're going to have a hard time overcoming what they've already put into it, invested into it emotionally. They are going to struggle. They're going to be the ones that are going to do the math problem, but not show you how you got there. They're just, they don't, how they got to the answer doesn't matter to them as long as they got the answer right.
Right.
And they're going to have a hard time only choosing one answer. They're the kind that are going to have to go and figure out there could be 5 possible answers to this question depending on how you actually approach it. So they're the kind that are going to struggle with that. So keep that in mind, and they need lots of options, lots of different ways to learn, lots of different ways to engage with the information. So that covers kind of our 4 basic learning styles, and we're going to look at it in just a minute, and we're going to look at their different learning modalities.
Wonderful. Well, we're gonna wrap this session up, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna kind of give you a recap of what these are, and then the different learning modalities, and then as a mom, you're teaching